The morning sun filtered through the tall glass windows of Sterling Corporation as Maya stepped into the lobby for the first time. She wore a simple navy blazer she'd bought on sale 3 years ago and carried a plain black tote bag that had seen better days. Nothing about her screamed executive. Nothing about her said power. And that was exactly how she wanted it. The security guard barely glanced at her as she signed in, assuming she was just another new hire for one of the lower departments. Maya didn't correct him. She simply took her temporary badge and headed toward the elevators, her eyes already scanning everything around her. The HR person who was supposed to meet her that morning had called in sick at the last minute. Most new CEOs would have been annoyed, maybe even angry, but Maya saw it as a gift, a chance to see the real company, not the polished version they would have shown her on a carefully planned tour. She found her way to the 5th floor, where the marketing department buzzed with activity. People rushed past her without a second glance. She was invisible. Perfect. Excuse me, are you lost? A woman's voice cut through the morning chatter. Maya turned to see a tall woman in an expensive cream pantsuit, her perfectly styled hair not moving an inch as she looked Maya up and down with barely concealed distaste. "I'm new here," Maya said simply, keeping her voice soft and uncertain. "I'm supposed to start today." The woman's lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, another new assistant. Well, HR should have told you to check in at the front desk first. Typical chaos around here." She turned to the small group of people gathered near her desk. "Did anyone know we were getting another assistant today?" A man in an expensive suit shrugged. "Nobody tells us anything anymore. Just throw her wherever there's space, I guess." Maya watched the interaction carefully. The woman clearly held power here, and the others orbited around her like planets around the sun. This was someone used to being in charge, used to being feared. "I'm Claire, by the way," the woman said, though her tone suggested she didn't really care if Maya remembered or not. "Senior Vice President of Marketing. That's David, our Director of Operations. And that's Rachel from Sales Management." She gestured vaguely at the others, who barely acknowledged Maya's existence. "Nice to meet you all," Maya said, making her voice sound grateful and a bit overwhelmed. "There's a desk in the back corner," Claire said, pointing toward a small workspace that looked like it had been forgotten by everyone. "You can sit up there for now. I'm sure someone from HR will figure out what to do with you eventually." Maya nodded and made her way to the corner desk, passing clusters of employees who were too busy with their own conversations to notice her. As she walked, her ears picked up fragments of complaints, gossip, and surprisingly honest assessments of the company's problems. "Did you hear the old CEO finally retired?" Someone whispered nearby. "About time. Guy was completely out of touch." "Yeah, but the new one starts officially next week. Probably just another corporate robot who'll make everything worse." Maya kept her expression neutral as she set down her bag and looked at the dusty desk that would be her observation post. The computer was old, the chair wobbled, and someone had left half a cup of coffee from what looked like several days ago. Before she could even sit down, Claire appeared beside her with a stack of folders. "Since you're here, you might as well make yourself useful. These need to be filed, and then I need coffee. There's a cafe on the 2nd floor. I take mine with oat milk, no sugar. Don't mess it up." Maya took the folders without complaint. "Of course. Anything else?" Claire seemed almost disappointed that Maya didn't push back. "Just try to stay out of the way. We're busy people here." As Claire walked away, her voice carried back to Maya's corner. "I swear they just hire anyone these days. Did you see that bag she was carrying? Looks like something from a discount store." The group around Claire's desk laughed. Maya carefully kept her face blank, but inside she was filing away every detail. This was exactly why she'd insisted on this approach. You never really know a company until you see how people treat those they think don't matter. She spent the morning filing papers and running small errands. Nobody asked her name. Nobody showed her how anything worked. When she politely asked David where the supply closet was, he pointed vaguely down a hallway and told her to figure it out herself. But there was one exception. A younger guy from the IT department stopped by to help her set up her computer login. His name was Kevin, and unlike everyone else, he actually looked her in the eye when he spoke. "Sorry about all this," Kevin said quietly as he typed in some commands. "The company's not usually this. Well, actually, it kind of is, but it shouldn't be." He glanced around to make sure no one was listening. "Claire's been here for 8 years. She's gotten worse over time. Most of the good people have left because of her and a few others like her. Why do they let her get away with it? Maya asked, genuinely curious about his perspective. Kevin shrugged. She brings in big accounts. Or at least that's what she tells everyone. The previous CEO never bothered to look too closely at anything as long as the quarterly numbers looked okay on paper. He finished setting up her computer and gave her a sympathetic smile. If you need any help with tech stuff, just email me. And hey, don't let them get to you. Some of us remember what it's like to be new. After Kevin left, Maya sat at her little corner desk and watched. She watched Claire berate a junior employee for a minor mistake in a presentation, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. She watched David take credit for someone else's idea in a meeting. She watched Rachel deliberately exclude certain team members from a lunch invitation, making sure they heard her plans but knew they weren't welcome. By lunchtime, Maya had seen enough toxic behavior to fill a report. But she wasn't done. She needed to understand how deep this went. She ate her sandwich alone in the cafeteria, again invisible to the groups of employees who clustered at various tables. The company had a clear hierarchy, and it showed in where people sat and who they talked to. She noticed a few people eating alone, and wondered how many of them were good employees who'd been pushed out by the social politics. That afternoon, Claire gave her an assignment that was clearly designed to be impossible. I need a full competitive analysis of our top 5 competitors by end of day, Claire said, dropping a thin folder on Maya's desk. All the information you need should be in there or not. Either way, I need it before you leave. Maya opened the folder. It contained 3 newspaper clippings and nothing else. There was no way to complete the assignment with just this, and clearly that was the point. Claire wanted her to fail. Instead of panicking, Maya spent the afternoon doing her own research on the company. She quietly accessed databases and files, using credentials that Claire and the others didn't know she had. She learned about projects that had been abandoned, employees who had filed complaints that went nowhere, and financial irregularities that made her eyebrows raise. At 5 o'clock, Claire stopped by her desk with a satisfied smirk. So, do you have that analysis for me? Or should I just tell HR now that this isn't working out? Maya looked up calmly. I did the best I could with the limited resources in the folder. I put together what I found. She handed over a brief summary that was professional but obviously incomplete. Claire barely glanced at it before tossing it back. This is garbage. I guess some people just aren't cut out for corporate work. Her voice carried across the office, making sure everyone heard. Maybe try retail instead. A few people snickered. Kevin, working at a nearby desk, looked uncomfortable but didn't say anything. Maya understood. People had to protect their own jobs. I'll do better tomorrow, Maya said quietly, playing her role perfectly. If there is a tomorrow, Claire said, walking away with her heels clicking against the floor. As the office emptied out, Maya stayed behind at her corner desk. Once she was alone, she opened her laptop and began typing up her observations. Every incident, every name, every pattern of behavior. This wasn't just about Claire or David or Rachel. This was about a culture that had rotted from within, where bullying was rewarded and kindness was seen as weakness. Her phone buzzed with a text from the company chairman. How's the first day? Maya typed back. Eye-opening. I'll need a few more days. Whenever you're ready, came the reply. Though I'm sorry you have to endure this. Maya smiled slightly as she packed up her discount store bag. She'd endured worse in her career. The difference was, this time she had the power to change things. They just didn't know it yet. As she left the building, the security guard wished her a good evening without really looking at her. Tomorrow she'd come back and endure more. She'd let them underestimate her, mock her, and treat her like she didn't matter. Because the bigger the fall, the harder the landing, and she wanted to make sure she knew exactly who deserved that fall. The rest of the week was like watching the same bad movie on repeat, except Maya was living it instead of watching it. Every morning she'd arrive at her corner desk with her simple clothes and worn bag, and every morning, Claire and her group would find new ways to make her feel small. On Tuesday, Claire dumped a mountain of expense reports on her desk. These need to be organized alphabetically, then by date, then by amount. Should take you about an hour if you're competent. Maya knew that task would take at least 4 hours for anyone. The reports were a mess, with receipts paper-clipped randomly and dates written in different formats. But she didn't complain. She just nodded and got to work. By the time she finished, well past lunch, Claire had already left for a 2-hour lunch at an expensive restaurant downtown. She hadn't bothered to check Maya's work. The task had never been about the expense reports. It was about control. Wednesday brought a new challenge. David called her into a meeting with actual clients, but only to take notes. "Just sit in the corner and write down everything we discuss," he told her, handing her a notepad. "And don't speak unless someone asks you a direct question." Maya sat through the entire meeting, watching David present ideas that she recognized from a proposal written by a junior team member named Tom. David presented them as his own, smoothly fielding questions and accepting compliments. The clients loved the pitch. After they left, Tom stopped by David's office to ask about the meeting. "How did they like the campaign concept I put together?" David barely looked up from his phone. "They liked it. I made some adjustments to make it work better, obviously. Good supporting work, though." Tom's face fell, but he just nodded and walked away. Maya made a mental note. This wasn't just about her anymore. This was about every person in this building who was being used and discarded. Thursday was when things got really mean. Maya arrived to find her desk had been moved to an even worse location, right next to the loud printer and the men's bathroom. Someone had also taken her chair and replaced it with one that had a broken wheel. "Oh, sorry about that," Rachel said, not sounding sorry at all when Maya asked about the move. "We needed your old spot for some new file cabinets. You don't mind, right? I mean, it's not like you're working on anything important." The snickering from Claire's desk was unmistakable. Maya swallowed her pride and settled into her new spot, where every person walking to the bathroom would pass within inches of her desk. But the worst part came during lunch. Maya was in the break room, heating up her homemade meal in the microwave when Claire and her group walked in. They were talking loudly, clearly not caring who heard them. "So the new CEO officially starts Monday," Claire was saying. "I already have my strategy. These corporate types are all the same. You smile, you flatter, you make them think their ideas are brilliant, and they leave you alone." "Think it'll be a man or woman?" Rachel asked. Claire laughed. "Does it matter? Either way, they'll be too focused on board meetings and stock prices to care about what actually happens down here." "That's how the last one was," David joined in. "I've got connections on the board. My uncle plays golf with 2 of the members. Nobody's touching me, no matter who walks through that door." They continued like that for several minutes, discussing how they planned to manipulate the new CEO, how they'd already prepared reports that made themselves look good while shifting blame elsewhere, how they'd survived 3 leadership changes and would survive this one too. Maya stood quietly by the microwave, waiting for her food. They didn't even notice she was there. Or maybe they did and simply didn't care. To them, she was furniture. "Did you see that pathetic new girl?" Claire suddenly said, and Maya's ears perked up. "What's her name again?" "Actually, who cares? She'll be gone soon anyway. I'm already documenting her poor performance." "Poor performance?" Rachel sounded amused. "She literally just got here." "Exactly. Which means she hasn't proven herself valuable yet. Easy termination. I need her desk space for Jennifer's assistant anyway." They laughed together as they left the break room, their expensive perfume lingering in the air. Maya took her lunch back to her terrible desk by the bathroom and ate slowly, thinking. Every conversation, every cruel comment, every dismissive gesture was teaching her exactly what needed to change. That afternoon, she volunteered to help Kevin with a technology audit in one of the storage rooms. Away from prying eyes, she asked him questions that seemed casual but gave her the information she needed. "How long has Claire been senior VP?" she asked while scanning old equipment. Kevin checked his tablet. "About 3 years in that role. She was a director for 5 years before that. Her department has the highest turnover in the company, but she always blames it on weak employees who can't handle the pressure." "And David? He's been director for 2 years. Promoted fast because he claimed credit for a major project that was actually completed by a team of 6 people. Most of them quit after he got the promotion and they got nothing." Kevin paused. "Why are you asking?" Maya smiled softly. "Just trying to understand how things work here. I don't want to step on any toes." Kevin's expression turned sympathetic. "Look, I shouldn't tell you this, but Claire's planning to have you fired by Friday. I overheard her talking to HR. She said you're not a good fit for the company culture." "I see," Maya said calmly. "Thank you for telling me. Are you okay?" Kevin looked concerned. "I know it's rough here. If you need a reference for another job, I'm happy to help. You seem like a decent person, and those are rare around here." His kindness made Maya's heart warm. Here was someone who still cared about others in a place that seemed designed to crush that instinct. I appreciate that, Kevin, really. But I think things might work out differently than Claire expects. Friday arrived with dark clouds over the city, fitting for what Claire had planned. Maya came in to find her desk completely cleared. Her few personal items were in a box on the floor. A note on the desk said to report to Claire's office immediately. She picked up the box and walked to Claire's corner office, where Claire sat behind a massive glass desk looking like a queen about to pass judgment. David and Rachel were there too, leaning against the wall like witnesses to an execution. "Sit down," Claire said, gesturing to a chair. She didn't wait for Maya to settle before starting. "This isn't working out. Your performance this week has been substandard. You're slow, you need constant supervision, and frankly, you don't seem to understand our corporate culture." Maya set down her box and folded her hands in her lap, her face neutral. "I've completed every task you've given me." "Barely," Claire shot back. "And not to the standard we expect. This company requires excellence, and you're simply not excellent. We're terminating your employment effective immediately." "On what grounds?" Maya asked calmly. Claire blinked, clearly not used to pushback. "On the grounds that you're in a probationary period and we've determined you're not a good fit. You'll receive 2 weeks severance, which is generous considering you've only been here a week." David smirked from his position by the wall. "It's nothing personal. Some people just aren't built for corporate life." Rachel added, "Maybe try something less demanding. Retail, food service?" Maya looked at each of them carefully. Claire sitting tall behind her power desk. David with his expensive watch and fake confidence. Rachel with her designer shoes and empty smile. They thought this was over. "I see," Maya said quietly. "Can I ask one question?" Claire waved her hand dismissively. "Make it quick. Do any of you know who the new CEO is?" The three of them exchanged glances. Claire recovered first. "Some outsider the board hired. Supposed to start Monday, why?" Maya smiled then, a real smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Just curious. I heard people talking about preparing to manage them." "Smart people prepare," David said condescendingly. "That's what separates successful employees from unsuccessful ones. The successful ones adapt and influence. The unsuccessful ones," he gestured at Maya, "well, they pack their boxes." "I'll remember that," Maya said, standing up. She picked up her box. "Thank you for the opportunity." Claire looked slightly disappointed that Maya wasn't crying or begging. "HR will process your final payment. Please leave your badge at the security desk." Maya walked out of the office with her box, passing by several desks where employees pretended not to watch. Only Kevin looked openly upset, giving her a small wave. She winked at him so quickly he almost missed it and kept walking. But she didn't go to the security desk. Instead, she took the elevator to the executive floor where her real office waited. The one with her name on the door. The one that no one except the chairman and board knew she'd been using after hours all week. She set down the box of her fake personal items and pulled out her phone, sending a text to the chairman. "I've seen enough. Let's move up the announcement to Monday morning. Everyone needs to be there." The reply came quickly. "Are you sure? We can wait another week if you need more evidence." Maya thought about Claire's smug face, David's casual cruelty, Rachel's empty mockery. She thought about Tom losing credit for his work, Kevin apologizing for the company's culture, and all the other employees she'd watched suffer in silence this week. "I'm sure," she typed back. "It's time." That evening, Maya went home to her real apartment, the luxury condo she'd been avoiding all week to maintain her cover. She made herself tea and sat by the window, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Claire was probably celebrating her successful termination. David was probably out at an expensive bar, charging drinks to his corporate card. Rachel was probably shopping, using the commission from deals she'd stolen from other salespeople. They had no idea what Monday would bring. And that was exactly how Maya wanted it. She opened her laptop and reviewed her notes one final time. Pages and pages of documented behavior, financial irregularities, discrimination, harassment, and toxic management. She'd experienced it firsthand now. She'd felt what every bullied employee in that building felt. Monday couldn't come soon enough. The weekend passed, slowly for Maya. She spent Saturday reviewing security footage she'd requested from the building management, watching hours of interactions she hadn't personally witnessed. What she saw confirmed everything she'd suspected. The bullying wasn't just happening to her, it was everywhere. She watched Claire yell at a cleaning woman for accidentally bumping her desk. She watched David make a junior analyst work through lunch while he took a 3-hour break. She watched Rachel deliberately give wrong information to a new hire, then mock them when they made mistakes because of it. But she also watched Kevin help an older employee with computer problems. She watched Tom stay late to help a colleague meet a deadline. She watched a woman named Lisa from accounting defend a coworker when Claire tried to blame them for Claire's own error. Maya made 2 lists, one of people who perpetuated the toxic culture, another of people who deserved to be protected and promoted. The second list was shorter, but it gave her hope. Sunday evening, she prepared for Monday. She chose her outfit carefully, a tailored charcoal suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. She rehearsed her speech, cutting out anything that sounded too rehearsed. This needed to feel real because it was real. Her phone rang around 8 p.m. It was the chairman. "Last chance to back out," he said, though his tone suggested he knew she wouldn't. "Once we do this, there's no hiding anymore. You'll have targets on your back from people who don't want change." Maya looked at herself in the mirror. "I've had a target on my back all week and I was pretending to be powerless. Now they'll know the truth. I'm ready." Monday morning arrived with clear skies, like the universe was giving her a stage. Maya arrived at the building before anyone else, using her real executive key card to access the top floor. She went to her actual office, the CEO suite that had been empty for months, and unpacked her real belongings. By 7 a.m., the building started filling up with employees. Maya watched from her window as people filed in, most looking tired or stressed. This was a company full of people who dreaded Monday mornings, and that broke her heart. Work didn't have to be like this. At 8:30, her assistant knocked on the door. Patricia had been with the company for 15 years and was one of the few people who knew about Maya's undercover week. Her face was tight with controlled anger. "I saw the security footage you flagged," Patricia said. "Claire tried to fire you. Actually succeeded in firing you." "Technically, yes," Maya agreed. "According to HR records, I was terminated Friday afternoon. Convenient timing since I officially start today." "How do you want to handle the announcement?" Patricia asked. "The auditorium is set up. Everyone's been told attendance is mandatory." Maya thought about Claire's face when she'd terminated her. The satisfaction in her eyes. The certainty that she'd won. Let's make it memorable. By 9 a.m., the entire company had gathered in the main auditorium. Maya watched on a video feed from backstage. The room buzzed with conversation and speculation. Most people looked nervous. Mandatory all-hands meetings usually meant layoffs or bad news. She spotted Claire sitting in the 3rd row right on the aisle. Premium seating, of course. David sat next to her, checking his phone. Rachel was nearby, whispering to another manager. They looked confident, relaxed even. Why wouldn't they be? They'd successfully removed a threat, and now they'd meet the new CEO on their terms. Kevin sat in the back, looking uncomfortable in a tie he clearly didn't wear often. Tom was near the middle, looking exhausted. Lisa from accounting sat with a group of other accountants, all of them wearing identical expressions of worry. The chairman walked onto the stage, and the room quieted. He was a distinguished man in his 60s who'd been on the board for 20 years. People respected him, even feared him a little. "Good morning," he began. "Thank you all for being here. I know mandatory meetings make everyone nervous, but I promise this is good news. As you know, we've been searching for a new CEO since Robert retired 3 months ago. The board was very careful about this decision. We didn't want just any executive. We wanted someone who truly understood this company." Claire leaned over to David and whispered something. They both smiled. They probably thought they'd have time to make a good impression on whoever walked out. The chairman continued. "Our new CEO has extensive experience in corporate transformation. She's turned around 3 struggling companies and made them into industry leaders. But more importantly, she has a unique approach to understanding company culture." He paused, letting the suspense build. Maya watched Claire check her lipstick in a compact mirror. "Priorities. She believes that you can't lead a company from a corner office. You have to understand what life is really like for every employee. So before officially starting, she spent the past week working here anonymously. She wanted to see the real Sterling Corporation, not the polished version we show to executives." The room erupted in whispers. People looked around at each other, trying to figure out who the new CEO might be. Claire's smile faltered slightly. David sat up straighter. Even Rachel looked uncertain. Maya took a deep breath. This was it. She walked toward the stage entrance, her heels clicking on the floor. The sound system picked it up and the room went silent, everyone trying to see who was coming. She stepped into the light and the auditorium went from silent to completely dead quiet. You could have heard a pin drop. Claire's compact clattered to the floor. David's face went pale. Rachel's mouth literally fell open. Throughout the room, different reactions bloomed. Kevin started grinning. Tom's eyes went wide, then he smiled. Lisa put her hand over her mouth. Maya walked to the center of the stage, standing next to the chairman. She looked out at the sea of faces, finding Claire's shocked expression, David's growing panic, Rachel's dawning horror. "Good morning," Maya said, her voice clear and strong, so different from the meek tone she'd used all week. "My name is Maya Patel and I'm your new CEO. Some of you may recognize me. I've been working in the marketing department this past week." She paused, letting that sink in. The whispers started again, louder now. "I wasn't spying," Maya continued. "I was learning. I wanted to understand what it really feels like to work here. And I have to be honest with you all, what I found broke my heart." Claire looked like she was calculating whether she could just leave. David's hands gripped the armrests of his chair. Rachel had gone very still. "I experienced bullying," Maya said simply. "Every single day, I was mocked for my clothes, given impossible tasks designed to make me fail, excluded from meetings and lunches, and ultimately fired for not meeting standards that were never clearly explained to me." She let her gaze sweep the room. "But here's the thing. I wasn't special. This happens here every day, to real employees who don't have a corner office to escape to." She pulled out a small remote and clicked it. The screen behind her lit up with a simple slide showing statistics. In the past 2 years, Sterling Corporation has had a 73% turnover rate in junior positions. 73%. Industry average is 25%. We've lost talented people who could have become our future leaders. Another click. We've had 42 HR complaints filed in the past year. 42 reports of bullying, discrimination, and hostile work environment. Want to know how many were properly investigated? 7. Want to know how many resulted in meaningful consequences? 0. The room was completely silent now. People weren't even whispering. Maya saw several employees with tears in their eyes. Others looked angry. A few looked terrified. "I watched employees take credit for other people's work," Maya continued. "I watched talented people be pushed out because they didn't play political games. I watched kindness be treated as weakness and cruelty be rewarded with promotions." Claire stood up suddenly as if to leave. Maya's voice stopped her. "Claire Anderson, please sit down. I'm not finished." Claire froze, caught between the stage and the exit. Everyone turned to look at her. Slowly, her face red, she sat back down. "I'm not here to shame anyone publicly," Maya said, though the room's attention was now fixed on Claire. "But I am here to make it clear that things are going to change. Starting today." She clicked to another slide. "First, we're implementing a zero-tolerance policy for workplace bullying. This includes verbal harassment, deliberate sabotage, taking credit for others' work, and creating hostile work environments. These behaviors will result in immediate consequences ranging from written warnings to termination." Another click. "Second, we're creating an independent HR oversight committee. Too many complaints have been buried or ignored. Every complaint will be investigated by an outside firm, and the results will be reviewed by the board quarterly. Third, we're instituting transparent performance reviews. Your work will be judged on actual results and contributions, not on how well you play politics or whose favor you can win." Maya paused and looked directly at the section where Claire, David, and Rachel sat. "Some of you are probably wondering if you still have jobs. Let me be clear. If you've been a good employee who treats people with respect, your job is safe. If you're talented and hardworking but have been overlooked, you're about to get opportunities you deserve." She let that hang in the air for a moment. "But if you've built your career on stepping on others, if you've created fear instead of respect, if you've abused your power, then yes, you should be worried. Very worried. Several senior managers will be meeting with HR and our legal team this week. Some of you already know who you are. For those who don't, you'll be contacted by end of business today." Claire's hands were shaking. David looked like he might be sick. Rachel was staring at her lap. But this isn't just about punishment, Maya said, her voice softening. This is about building something better. I met people this week who give me hope. Kevin from IT, who took time to help someone he thought was just a low-level assistant. Tom from Creative, who stays late to help colleagues even when his own work doesn't get recognized. Lisa from Accounting, who stood up for a coworker when others were silent. All three of them looked shocked to be named. Kevin's face turned red. Tom looked like he might cry. Lisa just stared. These are the people who make a company great, Maya said. Not the ones with the biggest offices or fanciest titles. The ones who remember that we're all human beings trying to do good work. She took a breath. I know many of you are scared right now. Change is scary, but I promise you this. If you come to work, do your job honestly and treat people with respect, you have nothing to fear from me. In fact, you'll probably find that working here becomes a lot more enjoyable. The chairman stepped forward. Maya will have an open-door policy. Anyone can schedule time to meet with her. We're also setting up anonymous feedback channels and regular town halls. This is your company too. We want to hear from you. Maya nodded. I'll be spending this week meeting with every department. Not as your boss evaluating you, but as someone who wants to understand what you need to do your jobs better. I've seen what it's like when management doesn't listen. I won't make that mistake. She looked out at the crowd one more time. I know some of you treated me badly last week. Some of you were cruel. But I also know that workplace culture shapes behavior. When bullying is rewarded, good people sometimes do bad things to survive. So here's what I'm offering. A fresh start. Show me who you really are, not who you had to become to survive here. The room was silent for a long moment. Then from the back, Kevin started clapping. Slowly, others joined in. Tom, Lisa. More and more employees until most of the auditorium was applauding. Claire sat frozen. David looked down at his hands. Rachel had tears running down her face. Maya smiled, a real smile this time. Thank you. Now let's get to work building a company we can all be proud of. The auditorium emptied slowly after Maya's announcement. Most employees left in clusters, whispering urgently to each other. Some looked hopeful. Others looked terrified. A few looked angry. Claire was one of the first to leave, walking quickly toward the exit with her head high, trying to maintain some dignity. But Maya noticed her hands were still shaking. David followed close behind, his confident swagger gone. Rachel lingered for a moment, looking like she wanted to say something, but ultimately just walked out with the others. Kevin approached the stage, looking nervous but determined. That was incredible, he said quietly. I had no idea. When you asked me all those questions, I thought you were just trying to understand the company. Maya smiled at him. I was trying to understand. You helped me see that there are still good people here worth fighting for. Thank you for being kind to someone you thought had no power. That told me everything I needed to know about your character. Kevin's face flushed. I just treated you like a person. That should be normal. It should be, Maya agreed. And soon it will be. I'd like to talk to you later this week about the IT department. I have some ideas about improvements and I'd value your input. After Kevin left, looking dazed but happy, several other employees approached. Some wanted to thank her. Others wanted to apologize for not speaking up when they saw her being mistreated. Maya listened to each one, making mental notes about who seemed genuine and who was just trying to get on her good side. By noon, Maya was in her real office with Patricia and the head of HR, a woman named Angela, who'd been brought in from outside the company just 2 weeks ago. Angela had been horrified when she'd reviewed the past year's complaint files. We need to move quickly, Angela said, reviewing her notes. Claire Anderson has been the subject of 14 complaints in the past 18 months. David Chen has 9. Rachel Martinez has 7. All were either dismissed or resulted in the complainants leaving the company. Maya leaned back in her chair. What's the legal situation? We're on solid ground, Angela assured her. Their behavior is well documented now, especially after your week undercover. Plus, I found several complaints that were never properly filed in the system. Someone was deleting them. Who? Maya asked, though she suspected she knew. Claire had administrative access to the HR complaint system. She shouldn't have, but apparently the previous CEO granted it to her years ago, said it would help her manage her department better. Angela's expression made it clear what she thought of that decision. Patricia pulled up financial records on the conference room screen. It gets worse. David has been approving fake vendor invoices. Small amounts, but consistent. Over the past 2 years, approximately $200,000 have gone to companies that don't actually exist. Maya whistled softly. That's embezzlement. Have we contacted legal? Our lawyers are reviewing everything now, Patricia confirmed. They'll have a full report by end of day. But David's not the only one with financial irregularities. Claire has been charging personal expenses to her corporate card. Spa treatments, shopping, even her daughter's college textbooks. And Rachel? Maya asked. Angela flipped through her files. Rachel's been stealing sales commissions. She has junior salespeople do the groundwork, then swoops in at the last minute to close deals and takes full credit and commission. 5 people have quit because of her in the past year alone. Maya stood and walked to the window, looking down at the city below. Somewhere in this building, Claire, David, and Rachel were probably panicking. Maybe calling lawyers. Maybe calling contacts on the board trying to save themselves. Here's what we're going to do, Maya said, turning back to face her team. Angela, I want you to call Claire, David, and Rachel in for individual meetings this afternoon. Tell them we need to discuss their roles going forward. Don't mention investigations or terminations yet. You want to give them a chance to explain? Patricia sounded skeptical. Maya shook her head. No, I want to see how they react. If they come in ready to apologize and take accountability, maybe there's something to work with. If they come in defensive or trying to manipulate the situation, we'll know exactly who they are. The first meeting was at 2 p.m. Claire arrived exactly on time, dressed impeccably as always. But her confidence was cracked. Maya could see it in the way she held herself, like she was bracing for impact. Please sit down, Maya said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. Claire sat, crossing her legs and folding her hands in her lap. I want to apologize for last week. If I'd known who you were, I would never have... Never have what? Maya interrupted gently. Never have bullied me? Never have given me impossible tasks? Never have fired me? Claire's jaw tightened. I was testing you. I test all new employees. It's how I determine who has what it takes to succeed here. By humiliating them? Maya asked. By setting them up to fail? By mocking their clothes and belongings? Corporate life is tough, Claire said, and Maya heard the defensiveness creeping into her voice. If people can't handle pressure, they won't succeed anyway. I was doing them a favor by weeding them out early. Maya pulled out a file and opened it. Claire, I have 14 complaints against you for workplace bullying. 14 different employees who reported feeling harassed, intimidated, or unfairly targeted. That's not tough management. That's creating a toxic environment. Claire's face flushed. Those are from weak employees who couldn't handle constructive criticism. I have the highest performing department in this company. My results speak for themselves, do they? Maya pulled out another document. Because according to this analysis, your department's actual revenue has decreased 12% over the past 2 years. The numbers look good because you've been taking credit for sales that originated in other departments. That's not true, Claire said quickly. Too quickly. Who told you that? Multiple sources. All documented. Maya closed the file. I also have records of personal expenses charged to your corporate card. That's misuse of company resources. Claire stood up abruptly. I've given 8 years to this company. 8 years of excellent work. And you're going to believe some disgruntled employees over me? I know people on the board. My uncle plays golf with board member Richard Chen, Maya finished. I know. I've already spoken with him. He was very disappointed to learn how you've been conducting yourself. Claire's face went pale. She sat back down slowly. Here's the situation, Maya said, keeping her voice professional. You're being placed on immediate administrative leave pending a full investigation. You'll receive your salary during is time, but you're not to contact any employees or access any company systems. When the investigation is complete, we'll make a final decision about your employment. You can't do this, Claire said, but her voice lacked conviction. I can, and I am. Angela will escort you to collect your personal belongings. Your corporate card and building access have already been deactivated. Claire stood again, her hands gripping her purse so tightly her knuckles were white. You'll regret this. I'll sue. I'll go to every contact I have and tell them what kind of CEO you really are. Maya met her gaze steadily. That's your choice, but I'd think carefully about it. Right now this is being handled privately. If you make it public, so will we. And I don't think you want your behavior documented in public court records. Claire left without another word, her heels clicking angrily against the floor. David's meeting at 3 p.m. went similarly, though he tried a different approach. He came in trying to be friendly, complimenting Maya's leadership style and talking about how excited he was for the company's new direction. "I've always believed in transparency and fairness," David said smoothly. "Whatever happened last week, I was just following Claire's lead. She sets the tone for the senior management team." Maya let him talk for several minutes before interrupting. "David, did you approve invoices for vendors that don't exist?" His smile froze. "I'm sorry?" Cascade Consulting, Summit Solutions, Pinnacle Services. 3 companies that you approved invoices for. None of them actually exist. David's face changed, the friendly mask slipping. Those were legitimate business expenses. If there's been some kind of accounting error, it's not an accounting error. The payments all went to bank accounts traced back to your wife's maiden name. Maya slid a document across the desk. "That's embezzlement, David. We've already contacted our legal team and the authorities." David stared at the document, his mouth opening and closing. "I can explain. I can pay it back."
"It was just a loan, really."
"I was going through a difficult time financially and I planned to return every penny." "That's between you and your lawyer now," Maya said. "You're terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you from the building." Unlike Claire, David didn't try to threaten or bluster. He just sat there looking like his world was collapsing, which Maya supposed it was. Rachel's meeting at 4 p.m. was the most surprising. She came in and immediately started crying. "I'm so sorry," Rachel said, tears streaming down her face. "I was horrible to you. I was horrible to so many people. I don't even know who I became." Maya handed her a tissue and waited for the crying to subside. "I was scared," Rachel continued. "When I started here 5 years ago, I was kind. I helped people. But Claire and David, they made it clear that nice people don't succeed here. They told me I was too soft, too weak. So I became like them. I thought that's what I had to do to survive." "That doesn't excuse your behavior," Maya said quietly. "I know," Rachel whispered. "I know it doesn't. I've been looking at myself in the mirror all day and I hate what I see. I stole people's commissions. I made their lives miserable. I became the kind of person I used to despise." Maya studied her carefully. The tears seemed genuine. The remorse seemed real. But she'd seen too many skilled manipulators to trust her first impression. "Rachel, you have a choice to make," Maya said. "We have documentation of everything you've done. The commission theft alone is grounds for immediate termination, but I want to give you an option." Rachel looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. "You can resign today with a neutral reference, or you can stay and prove you want to change. If you stay, you'll be demoted to a junior position with no supervisory authority. You'll attend mandatory workplace conduct training. You'll work with Angela in HR to make restitution to the people whose commissions you took. And you'll be on probation for 6 months. One complaint, one incident, and you're gone." "Why would you give me that chance?" Rachel asked. Maya thought about her own journey, about the mistakes she'd made early in her career, about the mentors who'd believed in her when she didn't deserve it. "Because everyone deserves a chance to be better than their worst moment," Maya said. "But only if they genuinely want to change. So what's it going to be?" Rachel wiped her eyes and took a shaky breath. "I want to change. I want to be the person I used to be. The person I should have stayed." "Then we'll see," Maya said. "But Rachel, I'm not kidding about the probation. You slip once and we're done." "I understand," Rachel said. "Thank you. Thank you for seeing something in me that I'd lost." After Rachel left, Maya sat alone in her office as the sun set over the city. Patricia knocked and entered with dinner, a salad from the place downstairs. "Long day," Patricia observed. "Long week," Maya corrected. "But necessary. The whole company is buzzing. Everyone wants to know what happened in those meetings." Maya took a bite of salad. "They'll find out soon enough. How are people reacting to the morning announcement?" "Mixed," Patricia admitted. "The junior employees and the ones who've been mistreated are thrilled. They're calling you a hero, but some of the middle managers are nervous. They're worried they'll be next." "The ones who should be worried probably are," Maya said. "And the ones who shouldn't be worried probably aren't. That tells us something right there." Her phone buzzed. A text from Kevin. "Thank you for today. You have no idea how much it meant to people like..." Another from Tom. "I've been at this company for 4 years and today was the first time I felt respected." And another from Lisa. "My team is crying happy tears. We thought no one cared." Thank you for caring. Maya smiled and showed the messages to Patricia. This is why we do it. Not for revenge, not to prove a point. For them. So what's next? Patricia asked. Maya pulled up her calendar. Tomorrow I meet with every department head. Then I start sitting in on team meetings, unannounced. I want to see how things really work when people don't have time to put on a show. Back to being undercover? No, Maya said. This time they'll know who I am. But I still want to see the truth. And I want them to know that I'm not the kind of CEO who stays in her office and makes decisions from a distance. I'm here. I'm watching. I'm listening. She looked out at the city lights coming on one by one, and I'm not going anywhere.